And we have already said that we have a lot of factors regarding the economy, for example, sorry, regarding the economy, what really happened in this field. People started to move from towns to cities, of course, looking for better jobs because towns were the main site for building factories. So the production side changed and people started to make the population movement. So as a result, the number of available jobs over there outpaced the number of the people looking for jobs, and eventually the result was unemployment. And of course, the housing shortages developed, the ratio, the crime ratio increased a little bit, of course, because simply the people want to feed themselves and their families. And people started to think about the importance of being human beings, their rights, their basic individual rights. And of course, the result was the two main revolutions at that time. We are talking about the 1800s, the American and the French one, the 1700s and the 1800s. So all of these changes that happened within 100 years had led the people to start to think what are the factors that maintain the stability of the society, for example, we are living in. So they started to think about this issue. And of course, after the huge success they had already done because of the scientific revolution, after applying the principles of the physical laws. Yeah, and first of all, they started to they used to use the wrong way of thinking, the traditional way, the religious explanation, or even for the ancient scholars' writings. So they started to think, and after they discovered the new founded land at that time, or the Americas, and of course there was nothing mentioned in their knowledge, their source of knowledge, the ancient scholars or even the church, there was nothing mentioned about the new founded land. So they started to think, maybe you are using the wrong way of thinking. So let's change our way of thinking. And they invented a new one based on reason. And they started to suspect all the facts they already knew. And of course, they have got a lot of achievements at that time. So they started to think, why not? Let's apply the same principles in the society we are living in. The first one to figure out this issue was Auguste Comte. Of course, from his name, guys, he was a French writer. So he was mainly concerned with the major shifts happened over there in the society after the French Revolution. So he made some kind of a comparison between the stability that they used to have over there in France before the French Revolution. Who can remind me what was the name of the French king, the last one before the French
Louis
Revolution?
the 16th.
Thank you
Louis the
very
16th.
much. Louis the 16th. Thank you very much. So he made some kind of comparison between what happened to the French society before the revolution and after it. And he figured out and he said there are some factors that can lead to social change. And on the other hand, we have some factors that can simply lead to social order. And by the way, guys, during his life, he didn't figure out these factors, but he just introduced the idea to the public. This society we are living in is not working in a haphazardly way. Of course, there must be some kind of a system. There must be some kind of principles that can maintain or hold this society together. And he said, from his point of view, there are some factors that can lead to social order, and he called it and he used the name social statics. And on the other hand, we have some other factors that can lead to social change, and he named it social dynamics. Can you remind me, have I mentioned something or an example? What's a social change? And what's the difference between social change and social order? Who can help me here? Who can give me a clue? Who can give me an idea?
You
I
said
know,
Syria
guys.
last time.
Sorry, Mustafa.
I think you said Syria last time. You mentioned an example. Syria.
Syria and Libya, for example. Of course, not all of Syria, because some places over there in Syria have some stability, but in certain places there are some kind of disturbance or disorder. Try to make a comparison between what's going on in Syria nowadays and before 5 or 6 years ago. Of course, the conditions are not the same. So we can say that before يعني 6 or 8 years earlier, of course, they had social order, while nowadays we can say that they have social change. And by the way, because one of your friends, not in this class, but he asked me, so there is a need to have some kind of a revolution in order to get a social change. What do you think, guys? We must have a revolution. We must have a major incident in the society in order to have a social change, or we can have a social change in a peaceful way. What do you think, Abdullah Ahmed?
As long as like the government or whatever kind of system, like a kingdom, is listening to the people, change will come easily without revolution and peacefully. But if there is no such as listening or caring about the people, then they'll have to do a revolution. And
Okay,
even at
Abdullah.
some point, even after the revolution comes, there's no change.
After the revolution, there is no change. So what's the benefit of the revolution from the first place?
Sometimes it's not always.
Not always. Okay, so from your point of view, there must be some kind of a revolution in order to have a change in
Not
the society.
not as long as they listen. The higher power.
طب let me tell you something. Let me tell you something, Abdullah. Of course, as being human beings, we have different interests. Those in the authority, those in the governors or the presidents of any country, by the way, we are talking in general here. Of course, they cannot satisfy every single human being in his own country. Right?
Uh, True. Yes. Yes. True.
So after listening, I will listen. Those who are in the authority, those who are in power, for example, will listen to the people. Okay. After listening, what they gonna do?
Uh,
Maybe the commoners or the normal people in the country do not figure out the whole picture, the whole idea. And there is no need, by the way, to have some kind of transparency between those who are in the authority and the people. There is no need, by the way. I can tell you simply what you need to know. But in order to get out the whole picture, it's not of your interest, by the way. So back to our question. In order not to... Yes, Abdullah, do you want to say something?
no. No. No.
Okay, guys, the question. We must have some kind of a revolution in order to have a social change in the society, yes or no? And of course, why?
No.
No suggestions?
No. No.
So
You
we
don't
can
need a
have
revolution.
a social change in a peaceful way, right?
Of course.
Can you give me an example, Mustafa?
For example, let's say, for in school, for example, we have you there's the SAT exam. For example, you have a SAT exam, and it's in like the school week. So what the students, of course, would want would be like breaks are free time for them to be able to study. So they ask the higher ups for permission to take some days off.
Yes.
That's
So,
just example. You don't need to revolution or anything.
okay, Omar, do you want to add something?
Yes, it doesn't need to have like a revelation or something. For example, like in the early ages when Europe still didn't have toilets, the people slowly but surely got toilets, and it was like only for the rich for a few times.
They do not have toilets.
Yes,
It's like
in the beginning
it's
they didn't have.
okay. So it's a new piece of information for me. So guys, let's have a closer look at the society we are living in. Let's have a look at the Saudi society. 3 or 4 years ago, we do not have females driving cars here in the Saudi society. Nowadays we have. A couple of years ago, we do not have, for example, cinemas or musical festivals. But nowadays we do have, right? So we can say that all of these are social changes here in the Saudi society. Can I say that what really happened in the past 2 years, we can consider them as a social change?
Yes.
If you think so, raise your hand, please. If you can consider my examples as a social change here in the Saudi society, raise your hand. Okay. It's the half almost, but
Mr.
some are not interested, like Rayhan. Yes, Abdullah. What's wrong
I
with your
think
mic?
also a social change is the coronavirus because we were very like as you can say social before the corona, but now everybody is in his own house and they are away from each other. Like friends
Thank,
are not getting together as
yes.
usual. Families are separated. It's a social difference.
Thank you, Abdullah, for your example. Yes, of course, it's a
You're
social
welcome.
change. Hands down, guys. So we can say that the shifts that or the changes happened here in the Saudi society, it's done in a peaceful way without the need of a revolution, for example. Okay? So there's no need to have a major incident in the society in order to have some kind of a change. Changes can be done in a peaceful way. So from his point of view, there are some certain factors that can lead guys to social order. And on the other hand, we have other factors that can lead to social change. And let me tell you something. All of his life, guys, he didn't figure out these factors. He didn't figure them out. He just mentioned the title, social statics and social dynamics. So he used this definition only to describe the result that these factors can lead to social order, while on the other hand, the social dynamics can lead to social change. But what are these two factors? He had no idea. He was still at the beginning of this new science. And by the way, he was the first one talking about these issues. Even he invented the word sociology. Of course, from the word society. He coined the term sociology. He was the first one to mention something about this issue. And of course, after getting something new, of course, we are talking here at the 1800s. After getting a new invention, for example, or talking about something new, what do you think the reaction of the people around him, the international community, for example, or the scientific field? What's the reaction, Leo?
Openly cannot understand.
Sorry,
Cannot understand.
cannot speak up, Leo. I can't hear you.
Like people cannot understand his idea.
People cannot understand. Okay, so what they gonna call him? You are a very smart guy, by the way. They will honor him. They will
Crazy.
give him a Nobel Prize, for example, if they have such a prize earlier at that time. They will honor him. Adham.
No.
Okay, Adham, what do you want to tell me?
يس يا مستر. ايه ده انا رافع ايدي.
Oh my God, it's your hand, يا حبيبي. You'll be tired this
معلش يا
way.
مستر.
Okay. Okay, Yusuf, do you want to add something?
Yes, Mr. They will not honor him because they will think that he's a lunatic or something.
Of course, thank you very much. They will simply say, what are you talking about? This is bullshit. This is nonsense. How the society is working? It's the act of God. This is how the society is working. And it's very simple. Why are you thinking about these issues? Go to think about something important now, how the society is working. So in order to pure his mind, in order to clear his mind and focus on his major, he used the cerebral hygiene. Cerebral hygiene, from the word cerebral. Of course, cerebral is related to
Brain.
the brain. So how I can simply hygiene my brain? To wash my brain, to wash my mind. How is
To
that?
avoid it, يعني to not do the things that it wants يعني.
Maybe
Like,
by
do you want
migrating to another country.
By traveling to another country. But by the way, keep in your mind, Hamza, that his main interest was the French society, that he noticed simply the shifts, the changes that happened in the French society. For this reason, he started to think about sociology. So this was his main interest. Yusuf Tamer?
Means be woke.
Yes, Mr. The cerebral hygiene is like neglecting the opinions of others and the personal views of others, and only depending on his own opinion.
Thank you very much, Yusuf. Yes, guys, in fact, cerebral hygiene is simply the idea of neglecting the writings of others. Everyone will
we
yes,
took
Yusuf.
this the last session.
Good for you. But you are the only one that you have got something to remember from the last session. What about the others? They are only good listeners. That's it. Okay, guys. Okay. Cerebral hygiene is simply, guys, to neglect the writings of the other people talking about this issue in order to clear his mind, in order to pure his mind and focus on his major. Okay. My question will be, if you have the chance to think about something new, you will use this technique, cerebral hygiene. Is it a good way of thinking? By the way, in order to answer this question, يا أولاد, you're gonna see in the discussion room, there is a note published over there about cerebral hygiene. If you wish, if you want to participate, be my guest, take the lead and answer the question over there. Okay? And by the way, maybe I have said that earlier. I do not know, but there is no harm to tell you again. For your evaluation, for your assessment, guys, it will not only depend on the quiz or even on the exam. Your participation, of course, will be evaluated, and also for the contribution in the discussion rooms. So every single item you're gonna do in the platform, believe me, it will be appreciated. Okay, back to our title. So he used cerebral hygiene as a way of thinking because simply he faced some emotional problems and he faced depression because of all of the critics attacked his views. and attacked his writings at the very beginning of establishing this new science, sociology, Auguste Comte. By the way, I have to tell you that every single item he mentioned in his writings later on was refuted to prove to be wrong. But until now, in the modern age, modern sociologists are still interested with the social order and the social change. So we can simply say, in order to be fair, yes, he invented this word, but everything he was talking about was wrong. But he mentioned two important issues regarding sociology, the social order and the social change. Now I can tell you that we are done with Auguste Comte, the most important sociologist, the most early one who invented this new science. In order to be honest, in order to be fair with you, Auguste Comte was not the first one to talk about sociology. In fact, he was an Arabian philosopher who mentioned this new science, and he wrote it in a book. By the way, the name of this book was The Introduction. Of course, it was in Arabic. What was the name of this Muslim philosopher? Please, guys, do not let me talk to myself. Yes, any ideas?
I don't know. So
Okay, his name, guys, was Ibn Khaldun. Okay, but this piece of information is for your general knowledge. Okay, it's not the correct answer. If you have this question in the exam or even in the quiz, who coined the term sociology, who invented this new word, if you're gonna write Ibn Khaldun, it's gonna be wrong answer. Okay, according to our book, according to our subject, according to our syllabus, who invented the word sociology? Auguste Comte. Have I made myself clear here? This was only for your general knowledge, guys.
Chemistry.
The second European scholar we're gonna discuss will be Harriet Martinet. She was an English writer, or she was not an English writer. She was born in an English family. Her dream was simply to be a writer. Unfortunately, she couldn't achieve this dream over there in England, so she was disappointed. She traveled to the new land. She traveled to the States, hoping that someday she will become a famous writer. While being over there, watching the new society, talking to people, she started to take some observations. She started to take some notes regarding the American society, and she wrote it in a book named Society in America. And in fact, guys, this book was published 2 years earlier than Comte's writings. Okay, yeah, talking about the timeline here, the book of Harriet Martinet was published 2 years earlier than Comte's, but she didn't mention something about sociology. She didn't mention something about this scientific way of studying the society. Okay, for this reason, they didn't give her the honor of establishing or of inventing this new science. Sociologists consider her some kind of a social worker because her writings were about taking notes and observation regarding the American society. And she focused on family, religion, race over there in the American society. So we can consider her the first female in this field. Okay, guys? يبقى her achievement that she started to take some notes and observations of the American society, and we consider her the first female sociologist, while other sociologists consider her a social worker. Until now, guys, do you have any questions?
No, Mr. Everything is clear.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, we have 5 minutes left in our session, but I think, guys, the next one, Herbert Spencer, will take more than 5 minutes in order to explain every item with him. So let me stop the recording for now.